Hello everyone, it's me, Sensei. Um, Today I'm bringing you my Smoker winner deck profile for my first OP09 local event. I played 5 rounds and the matchups were as following. I played Rob Lucci in the first round. I lost the roll. Sorry, let me turn this down a little bit. I played Rob Lucci in the first round. I lost the roll and I was forced to go first. Then I played Blue Doflamingo in the second round. I won the roll and I chose to go second. I played Smoker Mirror in the third round. I lost the roll, so I got first to go first. I played Marshall D. Teach, also known as Blackbeard, in the fourth round. And I won the roll, so I chose to go second. And finally, I played against Purple Luffy in the final round, which I lost the roll, so I got first to go second. I'll start by talking about the cards themselves and the reason as to why they're in the deck, and then I'll come back and talk about the matchups and how the game's played out. As far as I can recall, of course. Since this video is mostly aimed at current players, I'm not gonna go into too much detail if the card's purpose is generally understood already, and I will mostly talk about niche uses and cases of the card that are specific to Smoker. So first, let's start out by showing you guys more or less like the way I've sleeved up the deck. I use blue navy katana sleeves for outer and then perfect katana sleeves for the inner. You will notice that some of the cards have a couple of different sleeves, and that's because I was testing out different techs, like stage, for example. So I changed the sleeves up a little bit. But this is the original list that I ran during that local event. So we'll go ahead and get started. So first off, we run 4 Ice Ages. Ice Age is a very good card. I mean, there's no reason not to run this in Smoker, especially because it is searchable. So if you ever need it, you can find it. Sometimes the trigger comes up and it can be helpful. The main way we tend to use this card is we combo it with things like Brook and Tashigi to get rid of bodies on the board. Um, Sometimes you will find that the trigger comes up, and in that case, go ahead and use it. Then we have 4 copies of Sengoku. Sengoku is a Navy Searcher that came with a new starter deck. And the thing about Sengoku is that you require 2 Navy type cards in your hand. So, and your leader also needs to be Navy, which Smoker is. So if you do have the cards in your hand, which Smoker does because he runs a lot of Navy, he'll have a lot of targets, and Sengoku will be able to simply give you 3 cards. It will filter out your hand, it will set up your trash, and it's overall a very good card. I was testing out a list with only 3 because I was running less Navy cards in that list, and also I was running 2 stage, so one of the targets for Sengoku is either already going to be on the field, or it's not going to be played, simply because I'm not going to see it, or things like that. Um, yeah, so we got Sengoku. Then we've got our first set of 2K counters. We have Tsuru, and Tsuru is a very interesting card because oftentimes you have to pick between using her as a 2K counter or using her for the reduction, especially when you're doing plays off of Moria. And it's part of the reason why I'm running one of the cards that you'll see soon in the deck as a one-off. But Tsuru is a very good card. Pretty much you'd always run this as a 4-off. There's no reason not to run it as a 4-off. It's a 2K counter. On play -2. It's playable with Moria. Yeah, I mean, no reason not to run this. Sorry, I'll put this like this for you guys so you can more or less see. There you go. Alrighty. And then we've got 4 copies of Brannew. Brannew is another searcher in the Smoker deck. This one is not from the Smoker deck. This one's from OP03. And Brannew is good because he's a 3K body, which means oftentimes you'll end up using him to get swings out with 2 or 3 down attached, maybe 4 if the situation calls for it. And it's a 1K counter, so it's not a break. And it's also a Sengoku target. Not only is it a Sengoku target, but it can search for Sengoku. Brannew is overall a very good card. I pretty much always run this as a 4-off. And since you don't require Navy to search, it's pretty much your best searcher. Always run this as a 4-off essentially. Then we'll go into the one copy of Helmeppo that I'm running. This is mostly as tech because Helmeppo can be played off Moria as a second body, rested. It's also a 3k body like Brannew, and it has the same effect as Tsuru, except instead of giving -2, it gives -3. So Helmeppo, very good card. Definitely recommend trying it out at the very least as a one-off in your Smoker list if you have the room, you know. The -3 versus the -2 from Tsuru can make a difference. It is a 1k counter, so it's not a brick. And also, I mean, it's 3000 power compared to 0 power from the Tsuru. So it's overall just a better target for Moria than Tsuru is. Then we have 4 copies of 3-cost Tashigi. So you can see I have the release event, 2 full arts, and the SP. This 3-cost Tashigi mostly is used as a 2k counter. However, in certain matchups, you do need to play it out just so you can get that extra reduction, and so it creates pressure on the board. It is a 4k body, so all you really need is 1 down attached, and you're already able to swing at leader or pretty much most of the generic bodies you'll see on the board. But oftentimes you're not gonna be swinging with this if it's on the board. You're gonna be activating the main effect, which is to rest her and give -2. It's kind of like a mini Laboon, which is searchable. It's a 2k counter, and it's primarily the main reason why this deck doesn't really run Laboon, to be honest, because in situations where you would want to play Laboon, you're just gonna play this card out. Sure, it's a 2k counter, but it's a pseudo blocker as well, because the opponent doesn't want to leave it on the board. So yeah, very good card, very, very good card. Then we have 1 copy of Koby. Some people run Koby as a 2-off. I always say if you don't have enough Brooks, which is the next card that I'll talk about, if you don't have enough Brooks, you definitely want at least 4 copies of Koby, assuming you don't have any Brooks. If you have 1 or 2 Brooks, I would still run 4 copies of Koby. If you have more than 2 Brooks, if you have 3 or the full playset, you can afford to run this as a 1 or 2-off. Most people that I see tend to run this Koby as a 2-off. Some people run it as a 1-off, some people don't run it at all. I think it's very, very good, especially in situations where you can't find Brook because Brook is not searchable by Brannew, or you don't see Brook at all. And also, again, this is playable off trash by other cards that I will talk about soon. Very good card. It's also on play. You can trash a card, which means you can get rid of a brick in hand, but not always. And you KO 3 or less, which is more than Brook actually, because Brook has to be cost of 0 after reducing. It's basically cost of 1 because Brook does -1. So this can actually make a difference. However, you do have to trash from hand, and trashing cards from hand is not generally something that we like to do. So yeah. Then we'll go ahead and talk about Brook. For Brook, to be honest, this card should be a 4-off in every deck. I was testing 3 Brook, and all it really ended up happening is I convinced myself more that I need Brook as a 4-off. This card is pretty much a black staple. I only have 1 copy of it, as you can see here. I've been running 3 proxies until I can get more copies of Brook. They're actually kind of cheap now. I think they're down to $20, $25 more or less, which is not cheap, generally speaking, but it is cheaper than it was before. These used to go for 30, 35. So yeah. Not a terrible time to grab Brook, but not the best either. Unfortunately, he hasn't gotten reprinted. And Brook is a black staple. Like you need this card. If you're playing Smoker, you really need this card. It is very, very important because it sticks on the board, it KOs, it does -1. It's a 4k body. You can play it on curve. Like it's very good. It's a very good card. You can grab it back from trash. It's very, very good card. So yeah, Brook, very important card for the Smoker deck. Then we have 3 copies of Hina. I've got the PRB best selection here. I was testing a list with only 2 Hina, simply because I needed to make room for other cards like Stage and Kuzan. But 3 Hina is what I was running, and Hina is a very good card. We want to usually play this off of Rebecca or off of Moria if we need the extra reduction to KO a big body, or you can play it off hand as well. It is a 5k body, so sometimes establishing this card early is important, even if you don't make value out of the play, because of the on play, because you will not see better cards in hand, or because you need to start pressuring your opponent early with bodies on the board. So don't be afraid to use Hina for that purpose. One of her other main purposes is being a Sengoku target. Because she doesn't have counter in hand, keeping her in the hand too long can often feel like a brick. So using her to send her to trash with Sengoku is perfectly fine, and it's actually what I would encourage you to do with her, because you can always play her off trash. So yeah, Hina, very good card. Does the -4, 5k body, searchable. No counter though, so it can feel like a brick sometimes. For Rebecca, I mean, that's very self-explanatory. This is another black staple, which you pretty much always run 4 of in the Smoker deck and most black decks, honestly, except for Steech, obviously. Rebecca, I mean, what can I say about Rebecca specifically for Smoker? You can grab Tashigi off of trash with Rebecca and play her on the same turn after 9 done, which can make a difference. On 10 done turn, oftentimes, one of your best plays if you don't have Moria or another big body to play is what you will do is you'll play Rebecca, grab Tashigi off trash if you don't have her, play Tashigi, and then do leader effect to -1 something, and then you can pop a 5 cost body, or sorry, trash a 5 cost body because you're not KOing, all while establishing a blocker, 6k body, and potentially you're getting a 7k swing if the if the body is low enough cost. You can also do the combo with Ice Age if you have Ice Age in hand instead of leader, and while you won't get the 7k swing, you basically get rid of any 9 cost body on the board. And that is very, very good. So if you have Rebecca in hand with Ice Age in hand, and there is a 5 cost Tashigi in trash, that's one of the cool plays that you can make with Rebecca. But sometimes you're just grabbing the Tashigi back to hand because you'll need her for a following up turn. We have 2 copies of Borsalino. Borsalino, honestly, I like this card a lot. It's a very, very good card, especially into black, because it's KO immune. It's a blocker that gains an extra 1k during the opponent's turn, so it's effectively a 6k blocker. Which means oftentimes you only need to pitch either a 1k or a single 2k to protect Borsalino from being KO'd in battle. And that alone can be the difference between getting a good enough tempo lead to win the game or not. Honestly, Borsalino, I've seen people run him as a 3-off, and I'm kind of tempted to test that myself, run him as a 3-off. But at the very least, I would recommend you run 2 Borsalinos in your deck, always, at the very least. It's a very good card, and it doesn't only help against black, it helps against a lot of matchups, especially if you don't see Rebecca. Because if you don't see Rebecca on curve, you'll want to probably play Borsalino on 4 Dawn or 5 Dawn, assuming you don't have Tashigi either, also. Borsalino, very good card. Definitely recommend. So we're finally here at the reason why we want to play Smoker. We have Tashigi. I mean, Tashigi, what can I say about this card? It's on play -4. Then you can do leader effect because of the way it's worded. So you get to do the activate main effect after doing leader effect. So on play -4, it's a 1k counter, 5 cost 6k body. You trash, you don't KO, you send directly to trash with the activate main effect. But only on the turn you play her. So you have to be mindful of this. It's not something that, once it's on the board, it's just effectively a vanilla body, okay? But the turn you play her, you can do a lot of amazing things with her. And she helps out so much. And it's the main reason why you want to play this deck. If you want to play Smoker, it's because of this card, okay? There's not really much other reason to play Smoker besides this card making the deck very good and consistent. Obviously, it's not a top deck, I would say. Like, you're not going to necessarily win out a lot of the time, but you can get good results, as I've proven here. T-Bone, 2k counter, 5 cost. The main reason why we run T-Bone is because A, we need more 2ks. 2, because it's a searchable 2k, so it's Navy. And 3, you can grab it from trash with Rebecca. Also, it's important because sometimes you won't see Tashigi on curve, and you will need to play out something that removes and is also a big body on the same turn, and this is where T-Bone comes in. It's a very rare situation that you would find yourself in, but honestly, like, it can come up. So T-Bone, 2 copies. I have considered running Perona, the 4-cost Perona over this, but T-Bone, can't go wrong with T-Bone. Jack. Honestly, Jack is one of my favorite cards in the game right now. What can I say about Jack? He helps, like, on the even curve. If you don't have Moria, you can do Jack plus leader, pop a 4k body, filter your hand. It's an 8k body. It has +4 cost, so it's hard for black to remove it. It's honestly just such a good card. And honestly, like, even though it is a brick, you don't care if it gets trashed too much either, if when you need it, because you can grab it off Rebecca. Um, so it's me personally, I would always run 2 Jack on Smoker, and we'll talk about Jack a little bit more later. But Jack, amazing card, honestly. I would highly recommend, if you're not running this on Smoker, uh, try it out. It's a very good card. Then of course, I mean, the man who lives in infamy, Gecko Moria, 4-off. Always run this as a 4-off. I've honestly seen people say that Gecko Moria you can run as 3-off. I used to believe that for a little while. I tested it, and I quickly found out that that is not the case. You want 4 Moria because you need to see him. If you accidentally trash him, if you accidentally, like if he's in live, if he's in near bottom deck and you don't see Moria, you're in trouble in a lot of matchups. You want to see Moria on curve especially. Moria is just such a good card. It's ridiculous. Like this card is insane, and it's actually crazy that this wasn't errated at all. But yeah, Moria, insane card. Like you need this as a 4-off, and honestly, like I would highly, highly, highly recommend that when you are playing this card, you are not afraid of also playing out like other reducers to combo with Moria. Like for example, the 2-cost Helmeppo if you have it in hand, or you could play a Brannew also on the same turn. You could do leader effect. You can do insane combos with Moria on this deck, especially with regards to like Brook and then the Hina. You have Rebecca. Like you can do a lot of things with Moria. You need this card, okay? 4-off always. Um, we got Issho. Honestly, Issho. I'm not sure how I feel about this card. I feel like I would want to run him as a 2-off. It is searchable because it's Navy. However, uh, it can feel like a brick sometimes, and it can feel like you really need to see him sometimes. He's very good in green, well, into green, and he's also very good for opponents that like to stack cards in hand. Because if you play him on curve, and the opponent has 6 cards or more, you're forcing them to trash 2 cards. And not only that, but if you're somehow on the even curve and you play this on 10 Dawn, you can do Issho, attach the Dawn to Issho, and then still do the leader effect, and then you will have a -4 somewhere. Like you could do -4 to like anybody, and then you could pop with Brook that's already established. You could pop with Jack that's already established, as a 7-cost that's already established. Honestly, Issho is a great card in this deck. However, it does feel like it can break out sometimes. I run him as a 1-off simply as a tech, but I would definitely recommend trying him out as a 2-off if you don't feel like you need the other top end. However, since we are in OP09 and we're almost done with the deck list, we'll now talk about the last top end that I run, and it's 2 9-cost Kaidos. Before this, I used to run 8-cost Sabo instead of Kaido for the Doflamingo matchup. But unfortunately, this deck, besides Tashigi, doesn't have a lot of options of dealing with Marshall D. Teach, the new Blackbeard deck. And this card helps a lot. This card helps a lot because all you need is a -3 and you can pop a 10-cost Teach. Honestly, Kaido is a great card in OP09, I think. I would definitely recommend running him at least as a 2-off. You might be able to get away with 1, but honestly, if you want to see him, you should run him as a 2-off. And also, I mean, I've seen people run him as a 3-off. I think that's excessive. You could maybe take out an Issho and run him as a 3-off, or maybe take out a Jack and run him as a 3-off. I don't think that's necessary. I think 2 is the sweet spot for Kaido. Very good card. Very good card. Alright, so that's basically the deck profile. So now I'm going to talk about a little bit about the matchups. Let's talk about Lucci first. So Lucci, to be honest, he braked a little bit, and I saw more Moria than he did. I also saw Borsalino on curve, and I think that was honestly enough pressure to give me a tempo lead and just kill him before he could kill me and start cheating on buddies. He wasn't able to do his full combo on curve either. So yeah, he just bricked enough that I could beat him on curve. Against Doflamingo, I had someone ask me on the Discord if Issho ever came up, and he did actually. He came up in this matchup. So I played Issho on curve, and because I was able to play Issho on curve, he only saw 1 Jinbei. So like it was rough. It was rough for Doflamingo. Um, I popped this boa blocker with Tashigi on the 5 down turn. Sorry, on the 6 down turn. Not 5 down. I don't know why I wrote 5 down on my notes. On the 6 down turn. And by the time it was 10 down, like he had bounced a couple of my cards with the 4 cost law. But it was too little too late. I was able to play aggressive enough that I pressured his life. He didn't see the cards that he needed. He didn't see enough Jimbes. So I just killed him early. It is risk. I feel like it is risky to play that way against Dofi. Usually you want to take away first from Dofi. However, I don't know what the gods were telling me that day that I chose to go second, but I chose to go second and it worked out. However, if you can deny Dofi from going first, that's great. Our curve is better going second, but hey, sometimes you just gotta play around your opponent and not around your own curve. Honestly, yeah, just don't be afraid to pressure his life early. Like, yeah, giving Doflamingo cards sucks, but sometimes you just have to play aggressive to find the kill early, because if he starts seeing those Jimbes as the game move goes on, it's going to put so much pressure on you that even if you establish Jack, like he'll, for example, in this game that I played, he wreck-rocked my Jack, which I had played on curve, and it was annoying, but you know, it is what it is. Like, sometimes you just have to pressure quickly so that he can't out-pressure you. I don't know if that makes sense. And honestly, I had someone ask me also if I was running Kuzan, or if I was missing Kuzan on this deck. I didn't really. Like, I didn't really miss the Kuzan. I am running Kuzan now as a test, but I didn't really miss the Kuzan, the 4-cost Kuzan. And I didn't get matched up against any green deck, so it never really came up. But yeah, I mean, Dofi was also running the 9-cost Mihawk. But I had a 9-cost Kaido in my hand. So even if he was able to play it, which he saw it, but he saw it too late. Even if he was able to play it, Kaido in hand. So I would have trashed it the following turn. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much a Dofi matchup. The Dofi matchup is a little bit hard. I would say it's more in favor than the other ones. But it is what it is. The Smoker mirror was honestly pretty straightforward. I saw more Morias, you know. I saw more searchers. And I just had a better curve. He was running 5-cost Sabo, but he only had 1 in the deck. And unfortunately in the mirror, 5-cost Sabo just gets trashed by Tashigi plus leader effect. So like, yeah, like even if he was able to like play the Sabo, it wouldn't have mattered because I can just trash it with Tashigi on 6 dawn. I did end up going first, but yeah, I mean it just doesn't matter. It just didn't matter. I saw a better curve. Also, he wasn't running Brook because he didn't have them. He wasn't running more than 1 5-cost Sabo again because he didn't have them. This is why you guys almost see me always complain about the prices of these SRs. They're basically gatekeeping the deck for newer players that can't afford to spend that much money on the game. But it's mostly just Brooks. You really don't need 5-cost Sabo and Smoker. You really don't. It is useful. You can run it, but you don't need it. You really don't need it. Now Teach. I think this is what most of you guys are here for. So Teach is interesting because the way that I play the matchup is I swing at life during the early game, obviously, to pressure the life from him and set up lethal before he can drop too many Burgess and 10-cost Teachers. He actually misplayed really hard on my 6th turn because he didn't activate leader effect and he had established Burgess. So I played 5-cost Tashigi immediately after and I trashed it. And that was enough of a swing and tempo to let me win because he wasn't able to establish another one in time. You will find that sometimes your best play against Teach is still Gecko Moria, simply because you don't have anything better to play, and it's still a 9k body. So don't be afraid to play Moria naked if you can't do the effect, because it's still a 9k body, okay? Also, some of the important notes that I found against Teach is you should try to KO Luffy with either Sengoku or Brannew. Either or is fine. Yes, in theory you would think that leaving the Searcher up is good because then you can keep activating the leader effect for 7k swings and that way you can keep pressure in life. But actually, leaving Lafitte up on the board is very detrimental because it keeps letting Teach search for those 10 cost Teaches and those Burgesses and those Van Ogres, those cards that are gonna be really annoying to deal with. So I would definitely recommend try to get like one 7k swing in if you're playing on even curve. So if you see Sengoku, play Sengoku, and then on the 3-down turn, you can get the -1 to Lafitte with leader, you know, and swing with Sengoku and then swing with leader at life. Uh, for the remaining 2 dawn, you give to Sengoku so you can swing 3k at Lafitte. Or if you play Brannew, you swing 3k at Lafitte. Like, you get what I'm saying. You have to pressure the Lafitte and try to get it off the board as soon as possible so that Teach cannot search for the other cards that he needs. Then also, Doc Q. Honestly, you can leave Doc Q on the board. I wouldn't always recommend it. And if you do the thing is, if you do decide to remove Doc Q, Teach is gonna get a free card, and sometimes giving Teach a free card is more detrimental than leaving Doc Q on the board. Because yes, Teach will do KOs onto you with Doc Q. However, sometimes giving Teach that free card of the KO can be the difference between you finding the lethal or not, or him finding a 10 cost Teach or not, him finding a Burgess or not, him finding a Banaga or not. It's like, it's very, very tricky to know whether you want to leave Dog Q on the board or not. Me personally, if we're just generally speaking, I would try to remove it if you can, because leaving him on the board is bad. But it's not as bad. Like, sometimes you can afford to leave him on the board. You just gotta get a feel for how you want to play the matchup and how you think it's going to play out. Maybe my thoughts on this will change as the set develops and I get more practice into Teach. But the way that I felt playing that matchup, I felt like Doc Q was not a big deal. I could leave him on the board, and it was fine. I established 3-cost Tashigi, actually, on that during that matchup. I established 3-cost Tashigi pretty early on the 4-down turn. However, he played Burgess on 5-down, and he tried to KO my Tashigi with the remaining down on leader. I protected it with a 2k and a 1k, and protecting this Tashigi was actually kind of crucial for the matchup because she's activate main, so the on-play doesn't get negated, and she's a pseudo blocker, so Teach wants to swing into Tashigi. And then she does the -2, and the -2 can be important in a matchup where you're not gonna be able to do a lot of your on-plays for removal purposes. So for example, you could do leader plus Tashigi. Excuse me, leader plus Tashigi plus Brook, and then you could pop what's that card called? Oh man, forgot the name now. Where is it? You can pop Laboon, for example. So if Teach has Laboon established, you can pop Laboon that way. Although oftentimes Laboon will be rested, so you could try to get a couple swings at Laboon. If you're running stage like I was testing, which was one of the reasons why I was testing stage, you can do stage, Tashigi, leader, Brook, if Brook is already established, and then you can pop Vanagar. Of course, Vanagar will give the Teach a leader effect, but still, I mean, Tashigi very useful in the Teach matchup, I think, if you actually play her. Yeah, it's a 4K body at the end of the day as well, so like you can get a swing with her too. I also had someone on the Discord ask me if Brook was helpful in the matchup, and honestly, yes and no. If I had Brook and 4 done, I probably would have played him instead of the Tashigi, and then the same thing, just protect him. But since I didn't see him early, and I couldn't do the on-plays as the game progressed, I mostly just used him as a 1k counter. And you can also use him for trashing to activate Jack effect. So that way you can trash Brook, set him up in trash, and then you can establish him that way if you don't want to pay the 3 down later. However, that would have to be on a turn where Teach doesn't activate the on-play effect. So you can use him for trashing for Jack, because I mean you're not gonna get value of the on-play, and if you don't play him on curve, he's gonna be too slow. because you're gonna have to play him, and then the following turn you'll have to do the KO. So yeah, definitely think that Brook is useful, but not as useful as other matchups. So oftentimes you'll see you'll end up using him as a 1k counter, or just as a target for Jack. And then now let's talk about Purple Luffy. Purple Luffy, man. Where do I start? So Purple Luffy was rough. The player that I was up against, his name is Echo. He's very good at Purple Luffy. I often playtest against him before bracket on my local spot. And since I didn't win the role, I was hoping to see a good or decent curve. The curve was decent, however, I made a major mistake on the 8-turn turn, which it almost cost me the game, to be honest. Okay, so let me lay it down for you guys, okay? So let's see. I had 2 Brannews established, okay? I had 1 Sengoku established, okay? And I had a Brook established. Okay. So here's the thing. I had 3 cost Hina in hand. I also had an Ice Age in hand, and I also had 5 cost Tashigi in hand. Now, what's the issue? The issue is that he had established Luffy Taro and Sorojuro on the previous turn. So on the 7th turn, he played Luffy Taro, and he established Sorojuro off Luffy Taro. Then on my 8th turn, I have this in my hand. So this is my hand right here. And then I had this on the board, okay? So what's the issue? Well, the issue is I could, in theory, play 5 cost Tashigi to -4 the Sorojuro. Then I can use Ice Age plus Leader. And then Brook, which is already established, to -7 the Luffy Taro and KO him with Brook. Or I could simply KO the Sorojuro. Because -4 from Tashigi would go to Sorojuro. Then Ice Age is Luffy Taro, right? Leader effect, -1. Brook, -1. They're both at 0. So I can KO with Brook one of them, and I can trash the other one with Tashigi. I would trash the Luffy Taro, KO the Sorojuro. But I mean, it honestly doesn't seem to matter to me. So that's the problem. Because I was pretty nervous. I also got on the extra 1k power, by the way. I was pretty nervous. It was the first time that I was undefeated at the very last round of bracket. So I knew that I could win, but I was nervous, okay? I was impatient also. So what did I end up doing? Well, I thought if I just did Hina on board, right? And then I did Smoker effect with Brook, I could KO the Luffy Taro. But obviously that's not the case, because Hina's -4, -1, -1 is not enough. So I established Hina, so that's -3 down already. And then I have 5 down left. So the question is, do I play Tashigi and then I Ice Age the following turn? Or do I play Ice Age and then I play Tashigi the following turn? Right? Because now I can only pop one body. Right? Because I've already played the Hina to -4 the Luffy Taro. So sure, I could play the Tashigi, right? And then I could KO I could trash the what's it called? The Sorojuro. But then I would be wasting the -4 from Hina, and I also wouldn't be able to find the KO with Brook onto the Luffy Taro. So instead, what I chose to do, since I already messed up with the Hina, is I Ice Age the Luffy Taro, I popped him with Brook, and I left the Sorojuro on the board. And then I kept my Tashigi in hand. And thankfully, the way the game played out, it was slightly in my favor. I was able to math out a lethal soon after, with pretty much everything I had established on board. I think he removed the Hina, and what did he remove the Hina? He removed one of these bodies, and I had like 4 bodies on the board. He had 3 life and 1 card in hand, and I knew that because of the situation that I was in, I would likely be dead next turn. So I had to swing at him. So I had to math out like here, like something like this. I don't remember if it was Hina or Brook that was left on the board. I'm pretty sure it was Hina. I think he removed the Brook. So yeah. Honestly, I messed up really, really hard against the Luffy Taro, and that could have cost me the game. But hindsight is 2020, guys. So yeah, this has been the the winner profile for Smoker. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. I did end up rambling for quite a bit. It's a 35-minute long video. But yeah, I mean, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll catch you in the next video.